Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So on this video we are going to be making a basic skirt, and this is going to be a very beginner friendly video. So if you're a beginner, this video is for you. So let's get right into the video. So this is the fabric we are working with. What we are going to do is we are just going to set this fabric on fold so we can cut the front piece first and use that to cut our back piece. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to take our length, and our length I'm working with 43. My initial length is 41, but I'm going to be working with 43 just to add 2 inch for the bottom part to fold that in. And I'm going to take out 1 inch at the top. So we are going to take out 1 inch first before marking out our 43 inch. So here I'm just marking where my knee line meets my hip line and the waistline at the top. So I'm just going to mark that out. So from the top you can see where I made the mark for our waistline. So from the top I'm just going to mark our waist measurement divided by 4, and I mark that out, and I'm going to add 1 inch for our dart and then 1.5 for our sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark that out. Next I'm going to mark our hip measurements divided by 4 and 1.5 inch sewing allowance. I made use of 2 inch on this video, but I'm just saying 1.5 inch because I feel like 2 inch is too much to use for your sewing allowance. But if you're a beginner, you should make use of 2 inch just so you do not make any mistakes. That was why I made use of 2 inch, as you can see. So for this lower part, I took what I had at my hip and I removed 1 inch and I marked that out. So if my hip measurement is 10 and I added 2 inch sewing allowance, I'm going to be taking out 1 inch and making it 11 inch. So that's what I mean. So now I'm just dragging everything so the measurements are meeting each other. So this is what it's looking like right now. So this is what we have. I'm just going to cut this out. So for our knee line, the reason why I take out 1 inch is just to help give the skirt a nice fit and a nice shape. So I just had to add that. So after cutting our front piece, I used that to place to cut our back piece, and this is also on fold. And you can see that at this point I left 2 inch sewing allowance all the way down for the zipper part, 2 inch zipper allowance. So now I'm just going to cut this out. So sorry this part was not in frame, but what I was trying to explain is I'm going to be having a slit at the back part of the skirt. So what I'm going to do, the easiest way to do this, I'm just going to extend my knee line, and I came up by 1 inch because that's where I want my slit to end. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, from that point, cut it all the way down. So that is how my slit is going to be. But you can as well just slit the back part open all the way up if you do not want your slit to be too wide. If you do not understand, do not forget to ask questions and I'm going to get back to you. So I just cut this all the way up and trimmed off 1/2 inch for that part, for the zipper part. So this is what we have right now. This is what it's looking like. So now I'm just going to go ahead to cut out the slit part. I just cut the slit open just to show you what it's looking like, and now I'm going to cut out my slit from my knee line where I marked out. So I'm just going to cut this out. Sorry this part was not in frame. If you are confused about anything, do not forget to leave a comment and I'll make sure to explain better for you if you do not understand. So this is what we have right now. We have 3 pieces, 2 for the back and 1 for the front. So this is what it's looking like. So I went ahead to cut out lining piece for the back as well as the front. So the difference is that our main fabric is 43 minus 1 at the top, but for the lining piece, our lining piece is supposed to be 1.5 or 2 inch shorter than our main fabric, just so when we sew the folding part is going to go inside. So this is how we are going to join our lining. We are just going to sew by this point by 1/4 of an inch. As you can see, I just marked this out so you can see how I'm going to be sewing this by. So after we're done sewing, I just stop stitch at the lining part. So this is what it's looking like. This is what it's looking like on the inside. So what we are going to do next is I'm going to mark my dart where I'm going to be having my dart. So you can see that I have a mark to indicate where my zipper allowance is going to end. So from that point is where I started marking my dart. So your darts, you're simply going to use your nipple to nipple measurement to mark this out. So I'm just going to place my nipple to nipple measurement there and rule a line, and I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides, which is 1 inch, and we are going to rule that to meet the line we made at the center. So this is what it's looking like. So we are just going to sew in our darts like so, and we are going to do this for the lining piece as well, because we are not going to that is not going to be showing from the outside. Everything is going to be sewn inside. So we are going to do the same thing for the lining and sew on our dart. So this is what it's looking like. So this is what we have after we were done sewing the dart. This is what our dart is looking like. Now we're just going to close up the edges. We're going to sew up the edges and move on to the next step. So we are going to sew all the way down and sew on this side as well all the way down. And we are going to do the same thing for our front piece and the other side of our back piece. And when we're done, we're going to be having something looking like this. So now I'm just going to turn this to the right side. So after I'm done turning this to the right side, I'm just going to go ahead to give it a good press. So this is our front piece, and like I said, you should as well make use of your nipple to nipple measurement. So I'm just going to show you, I just wanted to show you this before we continue. You're going to make a notch at the center so you can know where your midpoint is. So after creating the notch, like I said, you're going to use your nipple to nipple measurement, and for me that is 7. So I went ahead to mark 3.5 at this point, and then I'm going to do the same thing we did for the back part and mark 1/2 an inch on both sides and roll it down. So I've marked my 3.5 on both sides, and I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides, that's 1 inch, and we're going to take this down by 4 inch, and we're going to rule our line and just extend those 1/2 inch to meet that line we made. So that is that for the creating of our dart. So this is what it's looking like. Like I said, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. So this is what we are going to be having. I'm just going to do the same thing for the second part and sew the dart. So I just want to show you this in case you have any challenge while sewing. So you can see that this one is looking okay and sitting perfectly well, but this one is looking very rough at the edges. So what we are going to do is we're just going to flip this to the wrong side, and when we are done flipping it, we're just going to create a notch at that center part. So once you create your notch, it is going to relax, and all you have to do is give it a good press. So when you sew, please make sure you try to create notches at the areas where you should create notches. I just thought to add this in case anyone is facing this challenge. So here I marked out our zipper allowance, and this is what it's looking like. So I went ahead to take in 1/2 an inch again. This is going to help with the excess that normally comes out whenever you're sewing your zip at the back. So I just went in and ruled this out. So I brought the other parts, and we're just going to lay it right sides facing each other. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, from this line, I'm going to mark where I want my zip to stop for the back part, and I'm going to mark that out and sew this down, join the front and the back together before fixing in our zip. So I just marked this down. This is where I want my zip to stop, so I'm just going to sew from this point down, and then we are going to fix our waistband before fixing our zip. So we're just going to mark our sewing allowance for our waist and our hip. So that is our hip measurement divided by 2, our waist measurement divided by 2, and we are just going to rule it down, as well as the our knee line measurement, the way we did while we were drafting. So we are just going to rule this all the way down. After doing that, we're just going to bring our back piece, that is the back piece of our skirt, and we are going to lay this down, right sides facing each other. So we are just going to sew following the line we made with our chalk. We are just going to sew. So after sewing, this is what we have. What I'm going to do next is just measure the waist to see what we have at the waist point to create our waistband. So this is what we have. We had 35 when we were done, so I just cut this out. So this is exactly 35, and this is what it's looking like, and it's 3-inch wide. It's 3-inch wide, so I just folded in 1/2 inch on both sides, and what we have after folding it in is 1 inch on both sides. I hope you understand. And I went ahead to iron stay on the inside. I ironed interfacing on the inside just to give it a bit of structure. So this is what it's looking like. So now we are going to attach our waistband to the skirt. So from the 1/2 inch we ironed in, the 1/2 inch we took in, I'm just going to use that line as a guide, and I'm going to pin the waistband to the skirt all the way around. So this is what we have after we were done pinning this all the way around. You're just going to follow the line we have, and the line we have here, you're just going to follow it and sew all the way around. So you're just going to sew all the way around by the 1/2 inch line we have there. So I'm just going to trim this off because I was done sewing it, and I'm going to flip it to the other side, and I'm just going to use my scissors to just straighten up this point. So this is what we have. We are done sewing it round, and we are going to do the final sewing to just make sure our band is laying down. So this is what we have. So I'm just going to pin this down. I'm going to pin this all the way down so we can sew, we can top stitch on the band so everything is laying properly. So from the right side of our waistband, we're just going to sew from that sewing line, joining line we have there. We're just going to sew all the way down, making sure that as you're sewing the front part, it's going to be reflecting on the other side, and making sure that the band is laying down. So you're just going to take this all the way around. So this is what we have after we're done sewing down the waistband. This is what our waistband is looking like. So you can see that I sealed up this part and this other side as well. So everything is just looking nice and okay. So now we're just going to fix our zip. And like I said, you can do this before joining the front and the back together. I just wanted to show you with this method. So I just marked where I want my zipper allowance to be, just as a guide. Like I said, this is a beginner friendly video. This is as a guide, just to make sure you're not making any mistakes. So you're just going to mark this all the way down for the the zipper part, so when you're sewing you know where you're going to be sewing by, and you do not make any mistake taking it inside or outside and disrupting your measurement. So now we're going to fix our zip. So I marked out the line where I'm going to be sewing my zipper on, and I just arrange the zip the way I want it to be. And another way for beginners is you're just going to pin this down. So I'm going to pin this down. So this is also another guide to guide you on how to sew your zip down. So I'm just going to pin this down on both sides, and when I'm done pinning this down, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew using the chalk mark we made as a guide to sew down our zip. Now we're just going to sew all the way down, making sure your sewing is not too close to the zip or too far from the zip, so everything is laying down nicely. So when we are done, this is what we have. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below, and if you're not yet subscribed, please do well to subscribe. Turn on the notification bar so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.